Anya adored antique things. She often went to flea markets in search of unusual objects that could decorate her apartment. One day she found something special, a doll. It was a porcelain doll in an old dress with lace, with golden hair and expressive blue eyes. The doll looked very well cared for, despite her obvious age. The seller, an older woman, smiled when Anya asked about the price. "This doll is very special," she said. "It belonged to my grandmother. They say she can memorize." Anya paid no attention to the salesman's words and bought the doll. When she got home, she put it on the shelf in the living room where her other finds were. That night, for the first time, Anya felt that something was wrong in her apartment. She had a strange dream. She was standing in her living room, and the doll was sitting on the shelf, watching her. Her eyes seemed to follow her every movement. Waking up, Anya felt strange, but decided that it was just a figment of imagination. When she got to the kitchen, however, she noticed that the doll was no longer on the shelf, but sitting on the table. "I must have moved it myself and forgotten it," she muttered to herself. The next day everything seemed calm, but towards evening Anya began to notice strange things. Her phone rang, but there was no number on the screen. When she answered it, a quiet childish laugh sounded in the receiver. She hung up, writing it off as someone's prank. However, when the bedroom light came on, even though Anya knew for a fact that she had turned it off, she started to get nervous. Later, as she walked past the doll, she noticed that its eyes glittered in the dim light, as if it had just looked at the sun. "Nonsense," Anya said to herself, but a chill ran down her spine. Deciding to test her hunch, Anya set up a camera in the living room to record what was going on at night. The next morning, she watched the footage and nearly dropped her phone. The video shows the doll slowly turning her head, then getting off the shelf and starting to walk around the room. At one point she stops outside Anya's bedroom, looks at the door and says in a whisper, "I know your secrets." Anya turned off the video, her hands shaking. Her home no longer seemed safe. Anya sat on the couch, her heart racing. The doll still stood motionless on the shelf, but now its cute face seemed sinister. She tried to think of a logical explanation for what she saw on the tape, but deep down she knew that something was wrong with the doll. Anya decided to take a desperate step. She took the doll and put it in a box, intending to take it out of the apartment. That night she had a nightmare. She was standing in the living room again, but this time the doll was bigger, almost as tall as a child. Her eyes burned with a strange light, and her voice sounded cold and commanding. "You can't get rid of me. I know everything you're hiding." Anya tried to scream, but her voice was gone. The doll held out its hands to her, and everything around her plunged into darkness. She woke up in a cold sweat, and the first thing she did was look at the box where the doll lay. To her horror,